أكد جلالة الملك عبد الله الثاني أن مستقبل الأمن العالمي سيتشكل بناء على ما يجري حاليا في الشرق الأوسط، وأنه يمكن للمنطقة أن تكون بيتا للسلام والازدهار بوجود ركائز قوية من الحكم الرشيد وفرص متاحة أمام الجميع خصوصا لشبابنا، وهذا هو بيتنا الأردني الذي نعمل على بنائه. وقال جلالته في خطاب له أمام المشاركين في أعمال الدورة العادية 68 للجمعية العامة للأمم المتحدة في نيويورك بحضور سمو الأمير الحسين بن عبد الله الثاني ولي العهد إن التحول التاريخي الذي تمر به منطقتنا لن يصل إلى مبتغاه عبر الوصفات الجاهزة، وإنما عندما يشعر المواطنون جميعا بأنهم ممثلون تمثيلا حقيقيا. المزيد من التفاصيل في تقرير بعثتنا الإعلامية من نيويورك.
انطلقت أعمال الدورة 68 للجمعية العامة للأمم المتحدة المنعقدة في نيويورك بمشاركة حوالي 200 من قادة العالم ورؤساء ووفود الدول المشاركة. جلالة الملك عبد الله الثاني أكد في خطابه أمام المشاركين في الدورة أن مستقبل الأمن العالمي سيتشكل بناء على ما يجري حاليا في الشرق الأوسط، وأنه يمكن للمنطقة أن تكون بيتا للسلام والازدهار بوجود ركائز قوية من الحكم الرشيد وفرصا متاحة أمام الجميع خصوصا الشباب.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished heads of delegation, members of the General Assembly. It is an honor to join you today. Congratulations, President Ash, on your election, and Mr. Secretary General's sincerest thanks for your always invaluable work. My friends, global security will long be shaped by what is happening right now in the Middle East. Our region must be a house of peace and prosperity with strong pillars of good governance and wide open doors to opportunity, especially for our young people. This is Jordan's blueprint, and we are not alone. But no house can be built when its city is burning. And today, the region's fires cannot be ignored. All the world is in their path. To protect the future, our world must respond. The Syrian crisis is a global humanitarian and security disaster. Escalating violence threatens to hollow out the rest of that country's economic and political future. Extremists have rushed to promote and exploit ethnic and religious divisions. Such a dynamic could crush regional renaissance and put global security at risk. We have a duty to reject those destructive forces. Last month, Jordan hosted more than 100 eminent Muslim scholars from around the world. Their work affirms the true teachings of Islam and builds on Jordan's long-standing interfaith and interreligious initiatives. The Amman Message, A Common Word, and World Interfaith Harmony Week. The scholars said that there is no single prescribed model for an Islamic state, but they affirmed that the modern Islamic state should be a civic state, founded on institutions and with an inclusive constitution based on the rule of law, justice, and freedom of opinion and faith. The modern Islamic state should uphold equality across the ethnic and religious spectrum, and the scholars decisively condemned the incitement of ethnic and sectarian conflict, fitna. They recognized this evil for what it is, a threat to the Muslim world, Ummah, and indeed all humanity. Jordan has called upon the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to adopt these recommendations, which are critical guiding principles amid the turbulence and transformations across our region. This month, we in Jordan also convened an international meeting to address challenges to Arab Christian communities. They are an essential part of our region's past, present, and future. Jordan has been a historical model of coexistence and fraternity between Muslims and Christians. And we will continue to do our utmost to protect our Arab Christian communities and minorities. And we call on all countries to join us in our stand for diversity, tolerance, and mutual respect. The truth is, respect for each other is the way forward for all of us. The historic transformations going on in my region today won't be achieved by formulas. It will come when all our citizens feel truly represented. Jordan seeks a house of the future that includes all. And we are building our future on the solid foundation of majority consensus, minority rights, a democratic culture of active citizenship, and peaceful evolutionary change. My friends, the Syrian people must also have a future. And for that, the international community must act. It is time to fast-track a political transition in Syria, to end the violence and bloodshed, neutralize the threat of chemical weapons, restore security and stability, preserve the unity of Syria and its territorial integrity, and engage all its people in building their country's future. Syria's future will depend on the Syrian people. But the world has the duty, the interest, and the power to help. And help must be soon. The damage and dangers are mounting. The flow of Syrian refugees in Jordan already equals 1/10 of our own population. It could reach 1 million, some 20% of our population, by next year. These are not just numbers. They are people who need food, water, shelter, sanitation, electricity, healthcare, and more. Not even the strongest global economies can absorb this demand on infrastructure and resources, let alone a small economy and the fourth water-poorest country in the world. My friends, Jordanians have opened their arms to those in need, as we have always done. But I say here and now that my people cannot be asked to shoulder the burden of what is a regional and global challenge. But let me acknowledge with gratitude the generous response to date by the UN and regional and international donors. But we can all see the reality on the ground. The need is outpacing the response. More support is urgently needed to send a strong signal that the world community stands shoulder to shoulder with those who have borne so much. Those who are suffering in Syria also need the world to be resolute. The Syrian parties must abide by international humanitarian law and principles and allow humanitarian access into and within Syria to reach those in need. Our international community must also work together for a speedy resolution of the region's core crisis. The Palestinian-Israeli conflict consumes resources that are needed to build a better future and feeds the flames of extremism around the world. It is time to put out this fire. The talks that began in July show that progress can be made with willing parties, determined U.S. leadership, and a strong regional and international backing. We commend the President of Palestine and the Prime Minister of Israel for the bold decision to resume final status negotiations. We urge them to stay committed to reaching an agreement within the set time frame. Let there be no actions that can derail what is still a fragile process. And this means no continued settlement construction and no unilateral actions that threaten the status quo in East Jerusalem and its Muslim and Christian holy sites. Such threats would be a flashpoint for global concern. We know the right way forward, and the goal can be reached: a just and final two-state settlement based on international legitimacy and the Arab Peace Initiative. For Israel, real security and normal relations with 57 Arab and Muslim countries. For the Palestinian people, at long last, the rights they deserve in a viable and independent Palestinian state on Palestinian national soil based on the 1967 lines and with East Jerusalem as its capital. Let us keep the focus on what we're building. Communities safe for families to lead normal lives, a Middle East of many houses, working together in regional-wide cooperation, the ultimate security for our future. My friends, the future is ours to build, not in the Middle East alone, but in global partnership, and those who are working to do the right thing need the whole world's support. With every country that is more prosperous and free, with every neighborhood that is safer, with every person who has more reason to hope, the entire house of humanity grows more secure. Let this be our promise, not only for future generations, but for those we serve today. Thank you.
الرئيس الأمريكي باراك أوباما شدد في كلمته على ضرورة تكاتف العالم من أجل إحلال السلم والأمن الدوليين، مؤكدا استمرار الولايات المتحدة في تكثيف جهودها كافة لدعم وحماية الديمقراطية. وحذر أوباما من عدم اتخاذ موقف دولي حازم من تجاوزات نظام الرئيس السوري في حق شعبه، لافتا إلى ما أسماه بالجريمة الدولية التي وقعت من جراء استخدام الأسلحة الكيماوية. وفي كلمة للأمين العام للأمم المتحدة بان كي مون، أكد أن الوضع في سوريا يزداد سوءا يوما بعد الآخر، وأن الأزمة لم تعد محصورة داخل الأراضي السورية، بل تحولت إلى نكبة إقليمية ذات تشعبات دولية من شأنها تهديد الأمن والسلام الدوليين. وكان جلالته على هامش اجتماعات الجمعية العامة قد بحث في لقاء مع بان كي مون بحضور سمو الأمير الحسين بن عبد الله الثاني ولي العهد مستجدات الأوضاع في الشرق الأوسط، خصوصا تداعيات الوضع السوري ومساعي تحقيق السلام في المنطقة. تطورات الوضع السوري والمنطقة كانت محور لقاءين منفصلين جمعا جلالته مع الرئيس اللبناني ميشيل سليمان والرئيس التونسي المنصف المرزوقي. حيث شدد جلالته على أهمية التوصل إلى توافق عربي ودولي لإيجاد حل سياسي شامل للأزمة السورية يضع حدا للمأساة ويطلق عملية سياسية شاملة. وأشار جلالته إلى ضرورة تفعيل المجتمع الدولي لجهوده في مساعدة الدول المستضيفة للاجئين السوريين، وفي مقدمتهم الأردن ولبنان اللذان يتحملان أعباء كبيرة جراء ذلك. تطورات الوضع السوري وكيفية التعامل معه بما ينهي معاناة الشعب السوري ويمهد إلى حل سياسي شامل للأزمة احتلت الصدارة خلال لقاء جلالة الملك مع وزير الخارجية الروسي سيرجي لافروف، الذي نقل تحيات الرئيس الروسي فلاديمير بوتين إلى جلالته وحرصه على استمرار التنسيق والتشاور مع الأردن حيال مختلف التطورات التي يشهدها الشرق الأوسط. الملفات التي حملها جلالته في هذه الزيارة تتعلق بقضايا المنطقة ومشكلاتها، تتعلق أيضا بالوضع الإقليمي والتحديات والمخاطر الماثلة، وذلك ليضع المجتمع الدولي أمام مسؤولياته وليذكره أيضا بأن هذه الملفات الهامة تتطلب جهدا كبيرا لاحتواء تداعياتها. كل هذا يعكس نظرة جلالته المعتدلة والمتوازنة لطبيعة الأوضاع في المنطقة وتأثير مضاعفاتها على الأمن والاستقرار والسلم الإقليمي. إيمان العكور، التلفزيون الأردني،